If they, let me see, get rid of this. Okay, here we go. If they read the Megillah during the first Adar and an extra month of Adar was added to the year, they must read it again in the second year. There is no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar except as regards the reading of the Megillah and the giving of gifts to the poor. There is no difference between the laws applying to a holiday and those applying to Sabbath except in laws pertaining to food. There's no difference between the laws applying to Shabbos and those applying to Yom Kippur, except that the deliberate desecration of one is punishable by man, and the deliberate desecration of the other is punishable by Karas. There is no difference between one forbidden by vow to have any benefit from someone else and one forbidden by vow to receive food from him, except for setting foot on his property, and utensils with which people do not prepare food. And there is no difference between vow offerings and gift offerings, except that concerning vows, one is responsible for the security, but concerning gifts, one is not responsible for the security.
Okay. Ein bein zav haroe shtei re'os leroe shalosh ele korban. Okay, remember this. We've learned zavim. Okay, and you have three categories of zav. There's the one who sees just one re'iyah, who just has to go to mikveh and he's tahor again. Okay, or that night at least he's tahor. Okay, if he sees two re'iyas, okay, or one that's as long as two, then it's then he's already starting to get into serious tumah issues, and he needs 7 days, 7 clean days in order to become tahor, and then not only does he need mikveh, he needs mayim chayim. Okay, so he's got a tovel in a river or something that's flowing water.
Right.
Okay, and then there's the one who sees three, who's now called that's the Zav Gadol, and he's but the only difference between him and the Zav who saw two is that the one who's seen three has to bring a korban.
Korban katas. Korban katas.
Yes. It's a couple. There's a chatas and an ola, I think. I don't recall exactly what his korban consists of, but it's a set of things that he has to bring as a korban. Okay. Ein bein mitzora musgar le mitzora muflat. So we know about taras now. Okay, and you get when you have a suspected taras, the kohen puts you into quarantine. Okay, and if it grows or if it shows up the simanim, then he's mukhlat and he's definitely a mitzora. But the fact is that whether the person is in quarantine or whether he's certified as a mitzora, actually he's got the same din, and he's got to go outside the camp, and he's got to and he becomes tamei. What's the difference between them? Says Ein Bein, Ela Priya or Frima. The only thing is that if he's mukhlat, then he also has to tear his clothes. Okay, and he has to let his hair grow. Okay, and ben tahor mitoch hesker, and similarly, when the person becomes tahor after his hesker, after if he's been quarantined and the nega disappears or fails to grow or show simanim, then the kohen will say, okay, you're tahor. Or if he was mukhlat and the nega disappears. Right, he also has a process of tahara, right? So it says the Mishna. There's no difference between the two cases except the tiglachas v'tziporim, right? When a person has been a confirmed mitzvah, then he also has to shave his hair and do the ritual with the birds, and of course he also has to bring a korban the next day once he's tahor, which isn't mentioned in here, but that I think is kind of under the gather. Okay. No.
Come down. You.
And bein sfarim b'tfilin u'mezuzos. The only difference between Sefer Torah or Nevi'im and Kesuvim and klafim that are written for tefillin or mezuzos, ela she'asfarim nichtavim b'chol lashon. You can write a Sefer Torah or Nevi'im in any language. Interesting, huh? Utefillin umezuzos einan nichtavos ele asheris. But tefillin and mezuzos have to be written in the script in the Hebrew script that we use, which is known as asheris. Okay. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel mer af besfarim lo hitiru shikasavu ela Yavanis. He says the foreign languages that you're allowed to write, Svarim, are Greek. That's it. That's the only other language. And it's why is there? He's got a drasha that because Yafta Elakim Leyefes. There's a whole beauty of Yavanis itself, and in fact, it's supposed even if one did write in Greek, he's supposed to write it in sort of phonetic Greek. So you'd write it Bereshis, but using Greek letters, not actually translating the words. So the fact is that the Rambam says that the halacha is paskined in the Gemara that, like Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, that it's only Greek, and the Rambam adds that we don't do this anymore because the Greek language itself has been corrupted, and it's not the same as it was in ancient times, and therefore we cannot write Svarim using Greek characters. Yeah. Ein bein kohen mashuach b'shemen hamishchal and meruba begadim ele parabala kol mitzvahs. Okay, so the kohen gadol, the way that you're supposed to anoint a kohen gadol is that you're supposed to put anointing oil on him. Okay, but in the time of Yoshiyahu HaMelech, when he foresaw that the temple was going to be destroyed, he hid the Aron and all its accoutrements, including the shemen hamishchal. So therefore, when a kohen gadol was appointed, they couldn't put oil on him. So how did he become a kohen gadol? He simply put on the clothing. Clothes make up the man. Right. So as soon as he put on the extra begadim, he now became kohen gadol, and all of the halachas of the kohen gadol applied to him. Okay. So what's the difference between the anointing? Is that we learned in Horayos.
Right.
Remember we learned in Maseches Harayos about the kohen who paskins for himself and he makes a mistake on a chatas. Then so he has a special korban that he has to bring, but that only applies to a kohen who was anointed with shemen hamishcha. If it's a kohen gadol who only puts on was meruba begadim, put on the clothes in order to be vested with the title, then you treat him like an ordinary kohen who did a chatas. Okay.
You're saying that Yeshayahu he took the stuff. He took the utensils, some of the utensils that they used, and what else did he take? He took
the Aron and presumably also the menorah, which is interesting because you have this on the Arch of Titus. You've got this picture of the menorah. Right. Which is probably inaccurate.
Right.
I think there's probably a lot of artistic license in there about that menorah that they've got there, and secondly, the original one was hidden by Yoshiyahu, so they might have made a substitute one in the second Beis Hamikdash, which is the one that depicted in the Arch of Titus. But
I wonder how he took all this stuff, because they were kohanim around all the time. They were all the way in, all around there. He just walked in and picked it up,
The king. So he didn't do it in the dead of night. He came and said, "We're hiding the things. Take them, put them in the tunnels, seal it up."
Yeah, that's true. He was the king. You don't want to argue with the king, I guess.
Some people who did that in previous with other kings came to a sticky end. Ein bein kohen mishamesh lekohen l'shavar ela par Yom Kippurim v'asiris haifa. Okay, so what happens is you can also have an ex-kohen gadol. Right? Normally the kohen gadol is the kohen gadol for life. But what happens is, if he becomes tamei, you still need to have a kohen gadol who's functioning, which is why you've got a skan. Okay, so the deputy kohen gadol then becomes invested as the kohen gadol, and he functions completely as the kohen gadol, and he's got all the halachas of the kohen gadol, which means that as soon as he takes on the role of kohen gadol for the first time, he is no longer allowed to marry a widow.
Right.
Okay, and he is he's not allowed to become tameh for even his close relatives.
Right.
So all of those halachas kick in for him. So what's the difference between him and the serving kohen? So when the primary kohen gadol becomes tahor again, then he comes back and says thanks very much. They slap hands, and the deputy kohen goes back to being a deputy kohen. But all the halachas of kohen gadol still apply to him.
Still apply to him.
Once he's served, he's now not allowed to become tameh even for his parents, even though he's no longer serving as Kohen Gadol. So what's the difference between him and the main Kohen Gadol? Says the Mishnah, Par Yom Kippurim. Only the Kohen Gadol, the serving Kohen Gadol, brings the bull of Yom Kippurim, and Asir Seifa. And every day, there's the what's it called, the Minchas Chavitin, which the Kohen Gadol brings every day of the year. Right. Okay, half in the morning, half in the evening. Only the serving Kohen Gadol brings that one. Okay. Tainis base yud.
We may not decree a community fast on Rosh Chodesh, Hanukkah, or Purim. However, if they had already commenced a series of fasts, they may not interpret it. This is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Meir says, although Rabbi Gamliel said they may not interrupt the series, he agrees that they should not complete the fast. The same is true of Tisha B'Av, which falls on the eve of Shabbos. The order of the fast mentioned above applies only if the first rain was withheld. However, if plants change abnormally, we sound the shofar at once because of them. And similarly, if rains were interrupted between one rain and the next for 40 days, we sound the shofar at once because this represents a calamity of food shortage. And if suitable rain fell for crops, but did not fall for trees, and for trees, but not for crops, for both, but not for the filling of the water holes, ditches, and caves, we sound the shofar at once. If he prepared black but found white, white but found black, two but found three, they are forbidden. Three but he found two, they are permitted. Within the coat, and he found in front of the coat, they are forbidden. But if there are any, if there are none except these, they are permitted. Shammai says one does not remove the shutters on Yom Tov, but Beis Hillel permits them even to return. Beis Shammai says one may not take the pestle to cut meat on it, but Beis Hillel permits. Beis Shammai says one does not place the hide before the treading place and may not pick it up unless it has on an olive's bulk of meat. But Beis Hillel permits this. Beis Shammai says one does not take the infant or the lulav or the Torah scroll into the public thoroughfare, and Beis Hillel permits. Beis Shammai says one does not take challah or dues to the Kohen on Yom Tov, whether they were set apart on the day before or were set apart on that day. Beis Hillel permits. Beis Shammai said, it gave them the Gezerah Shava. Challah and dues are gifts to the Kohen, and Truma is a gift to the Kohen. Just as one does not take the Truma, so one does not take the dues. Beis Hillel said to them, no, if you refer to Truma which may not be set apart, will you say the same for dues that one is allowed to set apart? This comes from this is like the beginning of, I can't remember which sector it is now. When we talk about, there was Truma, when we talk about, was it Beitza? You're not allowed to give Truma on Yom Tov or Shabbos at all, so that's what it's saying over here.
That's right. But you notice that we learned in Megilla the Ein Bein between Shabbos and Yom Tov was about Ochel Nefesh Bilvad, and here we learn the Mishnah where we see that that's Beis Shammai who hold that it's literally Ochel Nefesh, that you can't even carry a child into the Rishus Harabim. Okay, whereas Beis Hillel says since you can carry food into the Rishus Harabim, you can also carry a child into the Rishus Harabim. Okay.
I mean, this is in Beitza, but we learned it somewhere else also about Truma and did we? I'm getting mixed up between this year and my Beitza year.
What case are you thinking about?
About not serving Truma. It's in Beitza. This is
I don't remember it anywhere else. I only remember it in Beitza. But you may be right, but I don't remember.
No, it was Beitza. I'm getting mixed up because this year we do the Mishna and the other one we do the Gemara. So I'm getting, which is the same. So, all right. You're Dalit. a ledge which is in front of a window. One may put it onto it, may be put onto it and take it from it on the Shabbos. What happened over here? Okay. I'm sorry. Page turning is making me. And take it from on the Shabbos. A person may stand in a private domain and move objects in a public domain, or in a public domain and move objects in a private domain, provided he does not take them beyond 4 amma. A person may not stand in a private domain and urinate into a public domain, or in a public and urinate into a private domain. Similarly, he may not expectorate. Rabbi Yehuda says, even when one's saliva has become detached in his mouth, he may not walk 4 ammas until he expectorates. A person may not stand in a private domain and drink in a public domain, or in a public domain and drink in a private domain, unless he brings his head and most of his body into the domain in which he drinks, similarly regarding a wine pit. A person may catch water from a gutter lower than 10 tefakim, but from a pipe he may drink in any manner.
Okay. Gemai of Tes.
If a chava and an amma aretz inherit from their father who is an amma aretz, he can say to him, "You take the wheat in this place, and I the wheat in that place. You take the wine in this place, and I the wine in that place." But he may not say to him, "You take the wheat, and I the barley. You take the moist, and I take the dry."
Again, that's bartering with stuff that is
right.
Mine, which he's not effectively. He's got to master it before he's allowed to do anything with it.
If a proselyte and a non-Jew inherited from their father who is a non-Jew, he can say, "You take the idols and I the money. You take the wine and I the produce." But after they have become into possession of the proselyte, it is forbidden.
Right. So they made a special dispensation that the ger has got a different case. He's allowed to tell his brother, You take the things that are avodah zarah, and I'll take the the money or the crops or whatever things that are going to be mutar. They did that as a special thing because in any case the ger is the inheritance of the ger is something that happens midrabanan. They didn't want him to lose out on his father's inheritance because as far as halach is concerned, it's not his father. But they permitted him to inherit because we didn't want Gerim to think, I was better off being a goy when I would inherit according to those laws. So they let him inherit, and they gave him these special dispensations that he's even allowed to negotiate with his brother for things that are asur b'hana.
If one sold produce in Syria and said they are from Eretz Israel, he must tithe it. They are tight, and he's believed because the mouth that forbade is the mouth that permitted. They are from wine. They are from mine, and he must tithe. They are tight, and he must be believed because the mouth that forbade is the mouth that permitted. And if he was known that he possessed the field in Syria, he must tithe.
So that hapesh aser or pesh hitzir is we see in a number of different circumstances of where you normally wouldn't believe somebody if he told you that something was permitted. But since he is the one who in the first place told you that it was asur, and you wouldn't have known that it was asur without him telling you, then you can say, okay, so they cancel each other out basically. If we're going to believe him, that it's asur, we can also believe him that it's mutar. But if you already knew independently that it's asur, then him telling you, oh, but it's asur, means that doesn't really add anything to the equation. So you can't believe him when he says it's mutar either.
Caleb, Yud Zion. An old oven was within a new oven, and there was a sarida over the mouth of the old oven. If the old oven is removed and the sarida would fall, then everything is tameh, and if not, everything is tahor. And the sarida is really a cover. It goes over.
That's right. Yeah.
A new oven was within an old oven, and there was a sarida over the mouth of the old oven. If there is less than a handbreadth between the new oven and the sarida, then everything within a new oven is tahor. Regarding stew pots, place one within the other, and their rims are even. If the sheretz is in the upper or lower stew pot, it's tameh, and the rest is tahor. The pots were perforated to the extent that liquid would enter. If the sheretz is in the upper pot, all the pots are tameh. If the sheretz is in the lower pot, it is tameh, but all the other pots are tahor. If a sheretz is in the upper pot and the lower pot extends above it, and the lower pots are tameh. If the sheretz is in the upper pot and the lower pot extends above it, if any pot that contains enough beverage to moisten is tamei.
No, the liquid, once again, the liquid becomes tamei from being in the airspace, and then the liquid then is tamei the pot. Yeah.
Regarding metal utensils, their flatwares and their hollowwares are tamei. If they break, they become tahor. If one refashions them into utensils, they revert to their former state of tuma. Ram Shimon ben Gamliel says this does not apply to every kind of tuma, but only to corpse tuma.
Yes, so actually the halacha does not follow Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. And remember the reasoning behind this was that metalware is so easy to melt down and reform. So we didn't want people cheating and saying like, you know, what have we got over here? Yeah, let's say I've got a metal plate that became tamei because it was in an ohel. So I think, oh my gosh, like really, I'm going to go and sprinkle this on the 3rd day, sprinkle it on the 7th day, take it to the mikveh. Why don't I just melt the whole thing down into a lump and reform it? Easy, save myself the trouble. And Minatora, you could do that, but they made a gezerah on this that if you do that, then it returns to its former tumah, because they didn't want people taking shortcuts and forgetting the halachas of tumah and tara.
Okay, test chet. If a house collapsed upon a man and his father, or upon him and one from whom he inherits, and there was a wife's ketubah or a creditor's claim outstanding against him, the father's heirs claim that the son died first, and then the father, while the creditors claim that the father died first, and then the son. Beis Shammai says they divide the estate, and Beis Hillel says the property retains its status. If a house collapsed upon a man and his wife, the husband heirs claim that the wife died first, and then the husband, while the wife's heirs claim that the husband died first, and then the wife, Beis Shammai says they divide the estate, but Beis Hillel says the property retains its status. The ketubah is in the possession of the husband's heirs, and the possessions which enter and go out with her are in the possession of the father's heirs. If a house collapsed upon a man and his mother, all agree that they divide. Rebbe Akiva says, I agree in this case that the possessions retain their status. Then as I said to him, on the disputed issues we are paying, and you come to dispute the unanimous.
Right. Yeah, that's it. We are done.
All right. Have a great. I think it's gonna be nice this Shabbos. Have a great Shabbos. Enjoy. Go practice your running now.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Enjoy. Now Monday. Wait, Monday. You weren't sure what was happening Monday.
No, I'm flying Monday night.
You're flying.
We'll work it out next week.
Oh, next week's Sunday. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye. Good Shabbos.